Hello everyone and welcome back to Make a Website Lessons on Codecademy. So in the last few lessons we were looking at mainly CSS, more complicated things with CSS, and specifically in the last lesson we looked at ID selectors and background image. We also did a review of what we had learned in that section of Make a Website. So today we're going to still kind of be working with CSS along line with HTML like we're supposed to do. So we're going to start off by learning what the box model is. So let's get started. We kind of mentioned a bit about padding, if I remember correctly. We definitely mentioned content because that's all we have been working with so far. So an important part of styling a web page with CSS is organizing boundaries and space. Every page element has boundary and space properties that can be controlled using CSS. The CSS box model illustrates each of these properties, so this is how it's kind of laid out. So the content is in the middle, then around that you have padding, around which you have the border, and then the margin, the maximum place that it can go to. Observe the CSS box model diagram to the right. So the content includes anything pretty much, so text, images, or other media contained within an HTML element. Padding, so this is the space between the content and the border. You can think of this like inner space. The border, so the white bit in this case, is the outline of an HTML page element. You can think of it like a picture frame that contains the element. And the margin, the space between the HTML page element and the next nearest element. So after you have familiarized yourself with the box model, click next to continue. Also, the margin is usually I think that the margin is very useful when you're working with different screen sizes. So for example, you want one kind of screen layout, page layout for a phone, smartphone, and a different kind for a laptop or tablet or a PC, for example. Let's move on. So the border property can be used to visually define a page element's outer edge. In CSS, the border property's value requires three parts. So you have thickness, type, and color. In thickness, you set the thickness of the border using pixels, EMs, or rems. If you don't know what those are, I recommend checking out the previous videos where you will learn what those are when we work with videos and font sizes, I believe. Then type sets the border type. Common options are solid, dotted, and dashed. So they are what they sound like. So solid is just a line, dotted is a dots on a line but spaces in between, and then dashed is just dashes. And color sets the border's color using named colors, hex, or RGB values, whichever one you prefer. The CSS below gives a paragraph element a solid black border that is 2 pixels thick. So because black is a color that is included in CSS, you can't just say black. You could have also used 0000000 for hex, or 9 times 0 for RGB, or however it was laid out. I don't usually use RGB because that's the most difficult one in my opinion, even though hex seems more difficult. And this is how all of this is being done on a paragraph element. So instructions: the web browser currently displays Standard Gallery's homepage. Let's give each gallery item a border. So far this is all we have. Let's just look at it. In main.css, locate the .gallery item. So that's a class, I believe, or let's find it. .gallery item, and I cannot see it. You guys probably can see it. Ah, here it is. Good. So we already have a margin. Add border. So we need to add that without removing anything. So 5 pixels border with a solid and hexadecimal of FFF. So we're only using 3 of them. Let's put a semicolon there at the end. Let's do run, and good. We are done with that. So as you can now see, or maybe not really see clearly, let me just scroll down. Around every picture now there's a border, a white border in this case, And it's white because we set it to triple F, which is all 3 colors at full. Well, F doesn't stand for full, it stands for 16, but I hope you get my point. If you mix all 3 colors of light, you get white. And that's why we have a white color around each picture, or a white border. So let's move on. Hopefully we're going to work on Alpine and Antarctic as well. Maybe. The CSS padding property controls the empty space between the page element's content and its border. Increasing a page element's padding makes the space around the content more spacious, while decreasing it makes the space more compact. So how to change it on a paragraph? This is just an example. You can do it on anything. You can do it on an image, on a class, or on an ID if you wanted to. Just like we did it on the border of these pictures. So the CSS above would give paragraph element a padding of 20 pixels. You can do it with EMs or REMs as well. In main.css, locate the class page description. Let's find that. So here it is. And set its padding to 30 pixels. Fair enough, let's do that. That doesn't sound too difficult. Padding 30 px semicolon. Should be enough to get that running. Good. Let's full screen this one. And that should be fine. So I was trying to find out what actually changed, and I was expecting something with the images to change, but it wasn't. It was the text here that changed. So you got between the text and the border of the text, you got this space around it. So if I remove this, nope, okay, that kind of commenting does not work. Basically, this is just removing it. As you can see, there is no space between the text and the outline of it. But when I do put it in, if I run now, as you can see, there is a 30 space pixel around the text and before the border. So let's look at a bit of margins then now. The CSS margin property controls the space between different HTML elements on a web page. So use margin to bring page elements closer together or to move them further apart. Also with margins, it's not just for 2 elements, it can be the element and the end of the page, for example. The CSS below ensures 2 rems of space between elements with the class answer and surrounding page elements. So that's with answer is... Can we find that? Nope, I'm guessing that's just an example from another place. So in main.css, locate the .gallery item class selector. I used this one, yep, it's this one. Currently it has a margin set to 2 pixels. Okay. I changed the value to 20 pixels, so just add a 0. Click run to see the space increase between each gallery item. So this space should increase between one image and another. There we go. So it was 2 pixels before, now it's 20 pixels, and as you can see, the space is much greater. So if you guys have any questions about, I don't know, anything that we covered in this lesson or in the lessons previously, then do feel free to ask in the comments down below. If you like this video, then make sure to give it a like, share and subscribe. It encourages me to make more videos like these, to educate the world, or however many people decide to watch these videos. And yeah, if you disliked it though, do feel free to give it a dislike and tell me in the comments why you disliked it so I can improve for next time. But until that next time, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.